Hello family and welcome back. In today's tutorial, I'll be sharing with you how to cut and sew a female fitting short step by step. Kindly don't forget to subscribe if it's your first time interacting with my channel. Also like and leave a comment in the comment section. To get started, these are the materials we need. We have a short zipper and then a gum stay which I'll use on waistband for reinforcement. Here is a 3/4 meter cotton lining. And lastly, we have African print fabric which is about 1 yard. So guys, I'm going to start by drafting pants front part first, then later the back part. That's why I'll fold this fabric like this with its wrong side. And second to that, I'm going to draw 2 lines of reference, both at the very top, then also about 1 inch away from folded edge. And having done that, I'm going to now take vertical measurements, whereby I'll be leaving out 1 inch for waistband as I take waistline to hip line measurement at 9 inches, then to crotch line at 11 inches, and lastly to short full length at 15.5 inches. We'll then square out horizontal lines across the marks I just put. I'll also go ahead and label each of the lines as short full length. Next is crotch line, hip line, and lastly waistline. From there I want to put in body measurements starting with quarter hip circumference, which I'll mark on crotch line at 10 inches. Then I'll carry forward the same quarter hip circumference to waistline and mark. So now from the mark I'll measure 0.5 inches further inwards, and that's what I'll join to that mark on crotch line with a line like that. Once I'm done with it, we'll measure quarter waist circumference on waistline, and in addition to that, I'll add 1 inch dart replacement so that I'm able to draw the outline using hip curve ruler. I want to now measure crotch extension on crotch line, which for front part is achieved by hip circumference divided by 20, and this is only applicable for front part. Take note of that guys. I got 2, that's what I'll mark. After marking, I'll go ahead and draw a small tiny curve like I'm showing you. From there I'll find midpoint here and put a mark on it as well. I'll also repeat the same on waistline. After it, we'll go in with a straight ruler and draw a vertical line like that. So guys, the reason as to why I have drawn this center line is to enable me measure quarter thigh circumference at 5 inches on each side. Then I'll finish up the outline. Another thing guys, we'll measure 0.5 inches up on the left corner of waistline, then 0.5 inches on this other side. So now we'll draw new waistline like that. The straight waistline will be of no use now. Let's also measure 0.5 inches on each side of the center line for that, then 4.5 inches down for that depth. And that's all I'll use in drawing a normal dart. Up to this point, we've not added any allowances. First, I'll start by adding 3.5 inches to be used as facing, and I'm measuring that twice before I can draw a straight line across these marks. So guys, I'm now going to cut along the drawn line before adding stitching allowances. Let's go ahead and add required allowances. Something we need to know before we start is, since this fabric is to be attached to lining, we need like 1 inch stitching allowance all round, whereby 0.25 inches will be used for attaching lining, then 0.75 inches is now stitching allowance. I'm done adding allowances. From there we'll fold the fabric from its original full length. Then I'll just cut out along the outline while the facing part remains on fold like that. Ensure you also notch on the folded ends after cutting out. On to the next step, which is to draft back part, and just like we did with the front part, fold the fabric into 2, then bring forth front part on it. Ensure it's well situated on the fabric with enough allowances on sides and at the top. After that, we'll pin it down on the fabric. Now I'll mark all the horizontal lines on the fabric under it, then trace the outline also. After I'm done tracing, I'll go ahead and measure what I have, which I find to be 3.5 inches. Then I'll remove all the pins. From there, we'll draw the horizontal lines again on the fabric from marks put earlier. Once I'm done with that, I'll also measure the 3.5 inches on front part. And I just realized I forgot something really important. I didn't take measurements here, which is 1 inch. And now I'm going to mark it on this other fabric before I can draw a vertical line like that. If you can recall, guys, front waistline is slanted, so to make it straight, I'll also measure 0.5 inches, then draw new straight waistline with it. I'm now going to begin drafting back part. First step, measure 1 inch from this vertical line on crotch line. Then on waistline you need to measure 2 inches. And with that, I'll draw a new back center line like that. And something else, measure 0.5 inches down on this extended line. So now I'll draw new crotch line across the mark like I'm doing. Whereas on waistline, measure 2 inches or 1.5 inches up. Now from that mark, also measure quarter waist circumference. Then draw new back part waistline in that manner using a straight ruler. After that, add 1 inch dart replacement. Again, measure quarter hip circumference on crotch length as we did with the front part. Then I'll use a curve ruler to come up with a nice outline like I'm doing. For back crotch extension, you divide hip circumference by 10. So basically it will be twice the front. So with that, I'll measure 4 inches from the vertical line and mark. In addition, add 1.5 inches stitching allowance. Whereas on full length, you only add 1 inch, then draw side outline in that manner. Having finished, we'll also go ahead and add 1 inch allowance on the left side and later finish up the back outline like that. We'll add crotch length with 0.5 inches. That's why I'll measure the same from full length, then use the marks to come up with back new full length. From there, we'll draw a tiny curve free hand like I'm showing you. And once I'm done, we'll add 1 inch stitching allowance on sides. For facing part, I'll measure 3.5 inches, which is the same measurement added for front facing. Then align across the mark. After it, we'll just cut along the drawn line first. Then we'll fold facing from original short full length. And we'll continue to cut out along the outline. Ensure you notch on the folded ends too. From here, guys, I'm going to cut out the cotton lining for the remaining upper parts only. After I'm done with the back pieces, we'll do the same for front pieces as well. I'm done cutting out lining pieces both for front and back pieces, and it's now time to start stitching. First, put right sides together. Then attach facing to lining from this point with about 0.5 inches. After it, also stitch on both side edges from top to bottom with the same measurement. Then on back pieces as well. Here are both front and back pieces after attaching linings to fabrics, though I've not yet turned them to the right side. As you can see, I've also gone ahead and notched around these curved edges. So now I'll just turn all these pieces inside out to their right sides. After I'm done turning, we'll head over to ironing board and iron them flat. Every piece is well ironed, guys, and as I was ironing, I made center lines visible where I'll be stitching that. So the next step is to stitch darts on every other piece. Dart depth I'll use is 4.5 inches for each. Darts are already stitched. We'll now stitch along the lines I'm drawing right now on board. I did the stitching and here is what I have. Now let's also stitch on sides. First, I'll measure 7 inches from waistline for zipper allowance on the left side, that is. Then for the rest, we'll stitch with 1 inch to the end like that. Then on this other side, since there will be no zipper on it, we'll stitch with the body measurement also from the top to bottom. And after I'm done stitching sides, I also stitch here also with the body measurements. Ensure by the time you are done, the round button is your thigh measurement. That's what I mean. This is what I've got after stitching as explained. We'll now stitch this waistband with gum stay already ironed on it all round the waistline with about 0.5 inches. The excess will be cut out later. I'm done fixing waistband. Let's now cut this excess out. Then we'll just finalize with a zipper stitch on this space left. Here is the final look, guys. I hope you've all enjoyed this tutorial and ready to try it. Please do and share your experiences in the comment section. Kindly don't forget to subscribe and like this video.